thinking about Christianity and thinking about athletics. And I know that my athletic background and coaching background, definitely I try to make that connection. But I believe that this message around the lesson of an athlete to endure trials and endure pain and suffering for an end prize is not comparable to the Christian faith, but definitely a great foundation of which to build your Christian faith on. And I think in the book of James, they gave us some great examples to help us get through trials in our lives. And I want to share what those tips are, because all of us, that is life. That at times we'll have moments of amazing and wonderful joy that'll bring tears to our eyes because we're so happy. The birth of a new child, or a wedding, invitation, right? Or just a joyous watching a child reach a high school or grade school dream, right? Can bring a bit of joy to your heart and even a tear to your eye. And of course, as with life, it can also bring tears of pain and suffering. And Christians are asked to handle pain and suffering differently. And I would say that we're asked to endure trials much like we would ask of ourselves as athletes, or that you as a coach would ask of your athlete, or that you as a parent would ask of your child. And that is, number one, that they tackle trials of life with joy, that they tackle it with a great attitude, that there's probably nothing greater than the attitude of which they attack the trial that's in front of them. Or, let's take it personal, in front of each of us. We are to face our trials by Christ's commands with joy in our heart, to do it with a loving and embracing spirit, a wonderful attitude. It has to be a vision that's beyond the current event. It can't be the vision of this is the trial and the pain and suffering that I'm in right now, but why I'm in it. Like an athlete, why are you suffering through the pain of a weightlifting session? Why are you suffering through the pain of a sprinting workout or a long endurance workout run? Why am I suffering through working out with athletes on a wrestling mat that are much greater than I am? Because I'm trying to get ready for what's coming in the future. And that's the spirit, that's the joy of tackling the moment at hand, which most would view as trial and tribulation and pain and suffering. But the Christian tackles it with joy, like the athlete would tackle it with joy. It might hurt, but he knows she knows there's a better thing coming. Be thankful for the trial that you're in. Be thankful that you're being tested, that you've got the opportunity to get better. And I know that's easier said than done, so how do you do that? Well, you focus on the joy, and you tackle that with an understanding mind. It's not one time that you try to understand what it is that you're trying to get better at, but you tackle it every single day. So you need the internal strength in order to get through the trial. And the way that you get to have more of Christ's strength is you spend more and more time with Him. So don't let a morning go by. And if one does, get back on it the next morning. If 2 days go by and you haven't touched base with Christ, get back on it the third day. You've got to spend time to increase your level of understanding. Because what James would share is number two, beyond joy, number one. Number two is an understanding mind. And number three is a submissive will. You flat accept it. You take what the coach has delivered as an athlete, what he's written on the board for the agenda for the day. You look at the trial of the conditioning portion at the end, at the number of live goes, at the types of scrimmages you're going to go through for that day, and you tackle it with a submissive will. You say, let it be. Bring it. Let it come. Let it come to me because I know there's a better purpose. Don't fight it. Don't save yourself for the end. Give it all you've got. Accept it and acknowledge that it's shaping you for something better that's coming. Have a submissive will, number three. Number four, have a believing heart. I would share with you that there's no greater strength in the success of the champions that I coached over the years, the number one trait is they believed. They believed in the system. They believed in themselves. They believed so much that they willed great things to happen. They willed themselves to perform at higher levels than anyone else would expect. Why? Because they believed. That practicing of having a believing heart probably should have been at the very top. But James listed joy first, and understanding mind second, and a submissive will third, and a believing heart number 4. So we'll go with James. He's pretty knowledgeable on the topic. From a Christian perspective, believing that there's a greater heavenly purpose to the trial and tribulation. You're getting stronger because God's getting you ready to help other people, maybe in this type of an event later in life. You're getting stronger to be able to serve greater in the future. And the next one beyond a believing heart is the opportunity to have a humble spirit. So you want to tackle this with a humble spirit. You want to tackle it with the spirit that, not the cockiness of I'm better than you and I'm tougher than you, but just a humble spirit. I always asked of my athletes to be the tough, when the whistle blew and the match went live, that they were to be the toughest guy, person, athlete in the entire gym. That people couldn't even recognize the competitive spirit of the individual that just came out into the battle. That when the whistle blew, that's the way it was. But when they were in the classroom the next day, it was the athlete that sat in the front of the class. It was the athlete that was helping other students to understand the math problem. It was the student that was raising his hand to engage with the teacher because the teacher was trying so hard to teach a group of teenagers. It's that loving kindness, that humbleness that I wanted to have when the whistle was blown to stop the battle, and as soon as it blew again to start the battle, it was the fierce competitor. Which means when you're in the battle, you accept the battle, that's right, you have a submissive will, but you also have a humble spirit. It doesn't mean that you don't fight. It doesn't mean that you just say, let whatever happen, happen. You still battle. You still fight. You still give everything that's humanly possible for you to give. All the talent that God has given to you, you surely embrace that and you give that. But at the end of the day, you rest well knowing that you're really not the one in charge. Your part was to fight for the day. God's part is a much bigger plan. Do your part, fight every day, sprint as hard as you can, work out as hard as you can, and then come back, rest well, come back and fight another day. That's what God wants from us as Christians as well. And the last one is patience. Don't expect it to happen overnight. Because you gave and you tossed up a prayer, it doesn't end the pain and suffering today. And trust me, whatever pain and suffering you've gone through, and surely you've probably gone through some great ones. I've gone through some great ones. Some ones that, as you match them up to other people, yours are much greater than others. I get it. But it doesn't take you to look too far outside of your window and your world to see other people that are suffering even greater. And if you think that your suffering is to the extreme, think of Christ, right? I don't know. I've been through some pain in my life, but I don't have pierced hands. Nobody put a stake through these hands. Nobody put a stake through these feet. Nobody hung me on a cross. I didn't die for this world's sin. I wasn't put through that pain. But when you're put in today's trials, when you're put in the world's trials from a Christian perspective, think back about your time as an athlete. Tackle the practice with joy. That's what this life is, practice. Practice it with joy. Practice it with an understanding mind, seeking knowledge. Practice it with a submissive will. Embrace it. Bring it on. Take it on. Take the challenge. Complete it. Take it with a believing heart. Believe it. Believe what's on the other side waiting for you. That will bring you the joy. That will help you to get through all of this. And I apologize for the phone. And then Take it with a humble spirit. Be the fighter during the day. Be the humble spirit. Be submissive to Christ. Let him take care of the end prize. You take care of the daily grind, the daily process. That's what he put you here, your feet on earth to do. So move your feet. Get busy, get working. And then be patient, because God's time is not necessarily, fast food time, right? God's time is not fast food window. It might be, because he can work miracles. He can melt mountains. But it might also be a week. It might be 3 weeks. It might be 3 months. It might be 3 years or 30 years. Be patient. Do your job and let God take care of the rest. I love it from James. It's a great advice for us. Great reminders for those of us that once were athletes, that once were coaches, or that are coaching today, that are parenting today. Help your people get through it. First and foremost, tackle it with a joyful spirit. Tackle the challenge of the day. Embrace it, accept it, believe in what's on the other side. It's worth the battle. It's making you sharper. It's making you stronger. Enjoy. Love you.